Hello and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Sasha Reed. Today's going to be a fun tutorial using wax. I've been playing. I've bought this wax paper when I was in Canada a few years ago and it's sat on my shelf. I bought it originally when die cutting was first a new thing to me, and wax paper helped to release dyes and paper from dyes. So I bought it for that. However, it's just been sat on my shelf because I've not actually needed it since I've got like a little brush and a pokey tool essentially to get my dyes out. So I wanted to find a use for it. And I thought about what if you haven't got that and what you could do. And I've come up with a way that you can do the same technique if you have not got wax paper. I had a look online and I looked on Amazon and there were quite a few different kinds of wax papers. You can even buy this same Cut Right brand. It's quite expensive, it's about £10, but there is a lot that you get in here. So you do get quite a bit in a roll. I can't really hold it very well to show you. I hope you can see that. So you do get quite a lot on a roll. It's very thin, so there's quite a lot on here. It says 6.97 meters of wax paper. So this is available, I know, in Canada and the States from your local grocery store. You can get it on Amazon in the UK. And I have no idea what you use if you are in other countries. I don't know if you have wax paper or not when you do baking and things. In the UK, we have got baking paper, which is kind of a bit glossy almost. Looks so cool for doing for like mixed media projects and stuff. It's just a really thin tissue craft colored paper. And I did try this technique with this, but it doesn't really have a wax coating on it, so you're not going to get the same effect. So if you're in the UK, you cannot use baking paper. It does not work. It does nothing for this technique. If you've not got wax paper, if you've got beeswax, that will work. I also tried a candle and used a candle for this and it did not work. So a candle will not work. You do need to have a proper wax. So this is a beeswax for threading, using on your thread. You can see I've used quite a lot of it. You can also get the beeswax blocks. You can buy them from loads of local places. Most places that have bees near you that would sell honey will also sell blocks of beeswax. Beeswax. So it's worth checking around anyone local to you if they have any beeswax available if you want to do this technique with that. You'll need some inks. I find that I love the result of having a black ink. We're going to do some ink blending today. Some ink blending brushes and some dyes of your choice. I find the bigger the better for this technique. So let's get started. Also, you will need an iron. I hate ironing, but I got my iron out the other day for doing some shakerless shaker cards and ironing some laminating paper. So my iron is still in my office, so that's why it's out today as well. So to get started, I'm going to die cut my wax paper. Now I've got these dies from Alina Craft or Alina Cuttle. She is on AliExpress. She has all original designs and stamps, so they are not fraudulent stuff in her shop. So I still love purchasing from her. I used to be a design team member, but I do purchase from her still. I love her products and her quality. So these are two sort of background dyes that I've got in my stash from her shop, and this is one of my all-time favorite ones. It's like a sunflower dye. And I've used this quite a bit on a few different projects, and these are the dyes I'm going to use today to share this technique with you. So to get started, we're just going to get a piece of wax paper. You just need one that's going to fit through your Big Shot, so something roughly 6 inches wide, or your Cuttlebug or whatever cutting platform you've got. Just make sure your paper is the same width as that and no bigger. And then I'm just going to do my normal sandwich as if this was a normal piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to lie my die on the top and put my sandwich together, and I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. Now when you've run them through the Big Shot, they come out beautifully. They should cut just nice and clean, and because it's got that wax coating, they just kind of pop right out. I did have to pick out a few of the little inner bits, but they weren't stuck in there. They were just kind of statically stuck in there. So I've got my sunflowers. I've got my sort of lines and these kind of half shells, I guess. So I've got those 3 die cut and ready to go. Just to explain, with wax paper, it is basically like a tracing paper coated in wax on both sides is essentially all it is, and people use it for baking. So we've got those ones die cut. Now I'm going to share with you how you can do it if you haven't got the wax paper. So all I'm going to do is take a piece of cardstock. You can use scrap card, whatever you've got in your stash. Just make sure it's not inked, because you don't want the color to kind of bleed through. You don't want it to bleed through into any of your card projects that you're going to make or into the wax. So I'm just going to take my beeswax. I do have some of those bars, those blocks of beeswax as well, but I couldn't find them. And you're just going to rub firmly. You're just going to kind of coat your paper in a layer of beeswax. You could use crayons as well, however you need to be careful because you don't necessarily want the color from the crayons. I guess you could do, if you wanted to do this with a nice colored image when you're done, but I just wanted a resist technique. So I kind of wanted to do a wax resist, and I want my color to come from my ink pads and not from my wax. So you're just going to firmly rub it on, and you can feel when you've got a nice decent coating on there. And so I've just coated that, and all I'm going to do is take my die, put it down on the wax side, and run it through my die cut machine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with these 2 here as well. I'm going to do 1 sheet for each of them, just so you can see the comparison when we get to doing the technique as to how they look and how they differ from the actual wax paper. Okay, when you're done die cutting your waxed bits of card, you should have your pieces like that. They cut so easily, and because of the wax they just popped right out. It was so nice. So we've got these 3 pieces here. Now what we need is our iron. Now I've got this board. I picked this up from Every Craft's a Pound. I have no idea what it is. It's some kind of building material. I don't know if it's like, it kind of feels a bit like drywall, but it's not drywall. I don't know what it is, but they had a whole ton of these. You can see there's just marks on the back of it. They had them for £1 for a 12 by 12 square at one of these craft fairs. So I picked it up, and it's just a heat resistant piece of material. So I'm going to use that on my desk while I iron. I've got my iron, which is just a bog standard iron that usually doesn't get much use. And I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to set it to just above the wool setting. So I don't know if you can see that in there. I've got this setting called wool. I'm turning it to just above that setting. I have played with all these settings already, and I found this one's a nice one. So that will take a couple seconds to heat up. Please do be super safe when you're doing this. Make sure your iron is off when you're not using it. When you are using it, please make sure it's somewhere safe. I'm only doing this on my desk so that you can see me while I'm filming. I would probably be doing this on a worktop surface or the floor or something in the house, not my office. But for the sake of filming, I'm doing it in here. I'm very careful and quick to turn it off and unplug it, just to make sure that I've not got this super hot element hanging out in my office. So I'm going to take my card front. I've got a whole bunch of pre-cut card fronts. I'll probably trim these down. I'm going to put that onto my board in the middle. I've got a piece of scrap copy paper to go on the top. And what we're going to do first is we'll do the wax paper, and then we will do the handmade wax paper. So I'm going to put my flower design down just in the middle, and I'm going to put my copy paper over top of that. And all we're going to do is just apply the heat and a little bit of pressure, not too much, because I find if you add too much pressure, sometimes your die can start to slip around underneath. So I'm kind of just applying the heat, and you can start to see the wax is coming through that paper a little bit. We've got this bit of paper here just so you don't get your iron all dirty and covered in wax, because my husband does use it a couple times a year to iron a shirt. I think the last time he actually used it was when he had a job interview like 3 years ago. We tend to buy shirts that don't need ironing because I really hate to iron. And he doesn't care to do it either. Okay, so that should be good enough. So I'm going to take that off. It's very faint, but you can see a very light image outline on there. Now this is not meant to be a technique where you get this crystal clear, beautiful image. It's meant to be more like a mixed media kind of effect. It's going to give you a really cool background, but it won't necessarily be super duper perfect, if that makes sense. But if you just apply a bit of pressure and your iron for, I don't know, what was it, about a minute, less than a minute, you can get that transfer of the wax onto your paper, your cardstock. So again, I'm going to take my wax paper, I'm going to place it onto my card front, I'm going to stick it towards the top, and I'll trim it down a bit later on. Put my scrap paper over the top and just apply some heat. And I might have shifted it and made it a little bit wonky, but we'll see. I'm not sure I put enough heat on there. You can then either save this and use this as a mixed media backing. So instead of using your vellum on your card, you could use this and have it behind like an embellishment or something. So it's worth hanging on to these and saving them, because now it's not very waxy. Now it's just like tissue paper. So this could be fun for another project. I'll do the next one off screen so I don't bore you too much. We're gonna come in and we're going to do our homemade waxed one. So I'm going to stick that down on there. Now you won't see through the paper on this one because we only have wax on one side of this. So I'm just going to apply my heat. I'm going to leave this for a few seconds longer just because it's got to get through the cardstock rather than a really thin bit of tissue. So I'm going to leave it a little bit longer to get that wax to melt. Now the one thing I found when doing this is with the wax paper, you get all of the wax coming off and soaking into your paper or your cardstock. However, since we used cardstock and applied our beeswax to the cardstock, you get the beeswax absorbing into the cardstock that we die cut and also absorbing into the cardstock below. So I take that off. This will have absorbed the beeswax as well as this cardstock. So this image doesn't get as clear as you would get from the wax paper, if that makes sense, because some of that wax has gone into this cardstock. Again, keep this. It doesn't feel waxy, but keep this because this will be great for another card. So it's like a 2-for-1. So again, I'm going to stick that down on there, put my bit of paper over the top, and we're just going to get that to melt into our cardstock. Okay, so that one is done, and you can see that one a little bit more has gone onto that bit of paper. It's absorbed a bit better on that one. So I'm putting them into two separate piles so that we can I can show you the difference between them. Okay, so my iron is now off and put away safely, and we're going to start on our card fronts. So these are the three that we did with the wax paper. So we're going to do those first. So I'm starting with my flowers. I can see the slight hint of the flowers, which is how I know it's there. I'm going to bring in some distress inks. So I'm going to use peacock feathers, seedless preserves, and worn lipstick. Now you don't need one brush per ink pad, but I'm doing that for the sake of filming so I don't have to clean between each brush. And I'm going to use the same three colors on all my cards. Now these ones here are from AliExpress. I bought them ages ago. I've used them loads. They're great. Works absolutely fine. The only downside to ones off AliExpress is you tend to have quite a weak area here. So I just hold the top and do it that way. This one's also from AliExpress. Then I bought these ones off of Amazon. They were in the Amazon warehouse. They were in open or used brush set, and so I just bought them because they were much cheaper, and they've been great as well. But I did get the whole set of them, so I do have all the sizes down to like the really teeny tiny ones when I only really need the big ones. So I've seen some on Amazon. I might be buying soon that are all the same size heads, and you get 5 of the same size, but they're about £10, so thinking about it. Right, I'm going to start with my pink, and again, because this is the slightly cheaper brush, I'm just going to hold the top and I'm just going to do circle motions, and you can see our beautiful design appearing behind. Now with this wax resist, because we're using this wax paper and it's a very thin wax, It's not like when you do a normal resist, like an embossed resist. It does pick up the color, but it keeps it really light. So you almost get like a shadow effect rather than an actual resist. So it's resisting the ink, but it is absorbing some of it. So I'm going to come in with the purple next. They're the seedless preserves. I'm probably doing this all in the wrong order as well. I've got a lot to learn about blending. And I'm doing this very quick just to kind of share with you. I should probably done the purple, the pink, then the blue or something like that. But never mind. The nice thing about these brushes is you can just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you can really blend out a nice smooth blend between the colors. They work really nicely. And to clean them, you can either just rub them onto a wet cloth or rub them onto a dry cloth. It works really nicely to clean these brushes. I really enjoy this kind of brush for these inks, or things like normal dye inks, like Stampin' Up! Inks. I would use these brushes on as well. I have got some of the sponge sort of dauber brushes, and I like using those on the oxides because they're quite juicy. They're really nice to use with the oxides. They blend so well with those. I've got my Altenew matte here, which is what I'm using to do this blending. It's one of my favorite mattes to use, purely because I think it's like a silicone base. So I wipe it clean every time, nothing really stains it. And my card doesn't move around, so I don't have to worry about touching it and holding it when I'm doing it. It just doesn't shift around, which is really, really nice. I'll do my best to link all these things down below for you, so you can check them out as well if you want to have a little explore of what they're like. So again, I'm just going to kind of soften these lines and kind of make it a bit more smooth. So we've got that, and now if you want to, you can come in with like a clean microfiber cloth and you can kind of buff it a little bit. I don't find it makes that much difference, but you can buff it and it can lighten it just a little bit more. So you've got the ink coming off there. But that is our wax resist, and how beautiful is that? I love that effect. So it takes on the color, but you're still getting that kind of shadow. So we'll come in with the next one. I'm just going to do the same colors, and I've got samples at the end to share with you as well. So don't skip by too fast if you want to see some more examples. And so I'm just going to do the same blending technique, and you can see this one hasn't absorbed as well. It's kind of hit and miss. It's just all fun. You just have fun, experiment, use different dyes, and just have fun with it. But you get this kind of nice little vintagey, distressed background, if that makes sense. And then again, I'll just kind of blend them through. This one only goes up to here because it was just a small square die, but I can trim that down and do like a nice square card front with it. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. There's also a bell button that you can press if you would like to get notifications when my videos go live. I'm trying to do about 2 a week, but it all depends on how things go with the kids, how things go with my day job. So sometimes it's a bit hit and miss, but there will always be, for sure, a minimum of 1 a week going up on my channel. So we're going on that. And I will always also try and link everything down below for you as well. So if you want to have a look at anything I've used, it should be in the description box. Right, there's our second one. And I will trim that down slightly. Right, let's move on for now to our handmade wax one. So here's our flowers. I'm going to ink up my brush and come in from the top. And this is using the beeswax. Oh, so I think, discovering from doing this, we need to get a new piece of paper. So I should have got a new piece of copy paper, and I did grab a few. I stuck them next to me so I could change them out. So we've got a double impression going on because we've got the wax paper coming back onto our flower one. So this doesn't give you the best idea of how it works if you've done your own homemade wax one, just because I've kind of mucked that up for you in using my copy paper. But you can still see that flower image is there, and you do get that image. You don't get it as crystal clear as you would this one. but you do get that image. So it's worth having a look at what's in your stash and seeing if you can make use of what you've got, and just have fun and have a play. I will use all of these. I will still use every one of these and make them into a card because I like that texture in the background. Even my oopsie is still really cool to me. I really like how it looks. I'll trim it down a bit and just possibly use it as like a panel in the back of my card. There's so many things you can do with these. It'll be loads of fun. Right, so that is our comparison between the two. And I have got a bit more of a resist going on this one here, just given all the extra bits. Right, let's see how this one goes. This one I didn't have quite so much, I don't think, going on it. So apply our color. This is again the wax, the beeswax that we used. Right, so that's that one. And let's see how we can go. Oh, look at that. With the beeswax, we can actually lift some of the color back up, which is quite fun. That definitely got a bit brighter, although it has lightened all of my color altogether. So this is the beeswax, and this is the wax paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn these into cards. I've trimmed them down. This one's slightly smaller than that one. And again, keep your scraps, because how cool do these look? These will look really fun on a card at some point. So let's get started on decorating the card. So I thought I wanted to put this onto a panel that matched the colors we used. So the best way to do that is to take your ink pad and make it match. And there's no point in covering the whole card because we only need to see the edge. So I've gone and used the seedless preserves and covered the edge of that card. And now I'm just going to heat set it because it's very juicy since I got it straight off the ink pad. You could use a dauber if you wanted, but I just was lazy and thought that using the ink pad would just be the quickest way. So I've gone ahead and put some double-sided adhesive on the back of it and stuck it to the front. With my second card, I wanted to back it on black because I wanted my focal point to be the black and the colors. So I'm just going ahead and inking all the edges to kind of help blend that card into the backing card. My cardstock is all from Lime Tree Crafts here in the UK. If you wanted to know, I'll link their website down below. Now I'm taking those scrap bits of leftover tissue from the wax paper, and I just thought I would do kind of a fun mixed media card. So I just had a bit of a play with the different elements we had left over, and then I got out some of my big embellishments, and I thought this flower would match really nicely. I've got this Hello die, which I think is from Alina's shop, and this Altenew set, which has Hello and Hugs, and then a whole bunch of sentiments that kind of coordinate with those two words. So I thought I would take one of those sentiments and stamp that on a bit of white card, and then just kind of cut it out to make my own little sentiment strip. And then I'm going to adhere it onto my card, and I thought if I put it on an angle, that kind of goes nicely along the edge of my sort of little tissue background. I don't know what to call it, my leftovers, my scrap bits. And again, I'm going to ink blend the edges and kind of have it pop off the card a little bit. And now to adhere down all my elements, I didn't want to have to faff with glue on that little fiddly thin sheet, and I didn't want the glue to show through. So I've just used the elements that I'm sticking down on top of it to act as my adhesive to hold it. So I've used some of the Ranger mixed media multi-medium glue in the matte finish to stick my flower down. I did put a huge blob of it behind that flower so that it would kind of soak through and hold my mixed media element on. Then I'm just taking the same glue and I'm applying it onto my Hello die, and I did die cut this out 4 times in black cardstock, the same black cardstock I used for my backing panel. And I'm just going to apply some glue on there and then adhere it right over top of my little dotty background to kind of hold that on a bit more. And this glue is really great because it dries nice and clear, and it does dry quite quickly as well. The big blob behind the flower will take a little bit longer, but I can set that aside to dry. It'll be dry by the morning. So I'm going to take this tape, foam tape from Alina's shop. It's 5mm foam tape. Perfect for shaker cards, also perfect for these little sentiment strips. And I'm just going to pop that along the edge just there, and it'll stick up just slightly.
I've got these little kind of gem jewels flat back thingies. I don't know what to call them. I've got them in all kinds of styles. I got them in clear glitter. I've got them in matte finish. I've got them in shiny finish. They're all from AliExpress. I'll try and link them down below. I did buy them quite a while ago. And I'm just kind of strategically placing them down to kind of help hold that background on a bit more. And that's my card finished for that one. So I'll adhere that to a card base and trim off that side on the left that's sticking over. Now I've got this congratulations stamp here, which is a part of the latest collection in Craft Stash. And we had a brand new baby niece born today, so I thought we would make a congratulations card. It's got to go all the way to Singapore, so I wanted a nice flat card that wouldn't get held up in the post and that wouldn't cost a fortune to send. So this is going to my brother-in-law and his wife for their new little baby girl. There are these little kind of party stamps that I'm going to use, and a little star, and I'm using my Hero Arts white pigment ink, which is called Unicorn White. Now mine is super duper juicy. I think I must have inked it recently, so I wasn't getting a very good impression. My white ink wasn't showing up very well, so I thought never mind, I will just roll with it, and I've added on some Wink of Stella glitter, and I've just kind of flicked it all over the front. And then got out the same little stickers again and stuck those down, and that kind of finishes off that card. And it's a nice, quick, easy, flat card that I can put in the post.
So here are 2 completed cards that we made today. I've got them stuck onto card bases, so they're ready to go. And I have got some more samples to share with you of other ones that I have made as well. So before I get started, I wanted to share with you the stamp sets that I've used on these next cards. Now I went on to Craft Stash and they had a sale on these Crafters Companion stamp sets, and I had to get them. Now I paid, I think it was about £10 I believe per stamp set, and they are my cup of tea 100%. So you will be seeing these in a lot of videos coming up. I got the thank you set. They basically are my favorite sentiments to use on cards in loads of different fonts. So you've got thank you, but you've also got them separated. So you've got thank, and then you could do like a different kind of font with you. You've got some exclamation points. They're just really awesome. Then we've got the same with the happy birthday. Several fonts. I'll link all these down below. Like I said, I am in love with them. I have used them so much already. And then just for you. So these are my favorite things to put on cards. Just for you can be for anything. It can be for a birthday, it can be a thank you, it can be anything. So I love a good just for you stamp set, and I love that one there. And then I also picked up this one from Craft Stash. These are also on sale, I believe, right now. There's a whole bunch of them, so I'll probably get a few more. There's one that's like Merry, and then you have like the option for Christmas and things, and it comes with a die as well. And these are also from Crafters Companion, I believe. It's for the Gemini by Crafters Companion. So I got these, and they're all photopolymer as well. They're not silicone, they're proper like photopolymer stamps. Really, really, really good quality. So these are the stamps that I used for my sentiments on most of my cards. I also used these ones, which were from the Surprise, Made to Surprise by Sam Colcutt on Craft Stash, and so I've got those ones as well that I have also used on my cards today. And in one of my recent hauls, I shared with you this stamp set here from Reverse Confetti. I will link all these things down below. I purchased this from a shop in the UK that ships in from the States, and I love it. It's another photopolymer stamp set. It's really awesome. So the first thing I made were some tags. So these are those dies that I shared with you at the beginning, and I made some tags out of them. So here you can see the Just For You, that's the happy birthday where that came with the die. And this one here, I used this sunflower stamp set from Apple Blossom on Craft Stash, and I stamped around the sentiment. And I just used my VersaFine Onyx Black, and it stamped perfectly over top of the resist, and it doesn't rub off. It stays on perfectly fine. And then I used my twines. So I did a haul video a while back. These are all from AliExpress. I have even more of them. I've got oranges and everything. But you get these huge, gigantic rolls. Absolutely fabulous. I will link them down below. I was so happy with the quality, and they shipped so fast, all the way from China. But now I've got twine for every occasion. So those are the twines that I used on my tags, and I just love how they turned out. Absolutely love this resist. Next up, I did this birthday card. Again, this is using that reverse confetti butterfly set, and this was another die from Alina's shop. It was just a corner die, and all I did was literally stuck it in the corner and ironed it on, and I did some extra colors, and I just love how this turned out. Such a beautiful rainbow, bright colored card. Again, I inked up my cardstock in the background using my Distress ink pad. The next two cards are made using that gorgeous birthday stamp set that I shared with you from Craft Stash, and I love how they both turned out. So this one I did a really light dusting of ink, and I think this one was using my wax, and this one was using my wax paper. So this is beeswax and wax paper. Again, you can see the difference. I just went lighter on my ink on that one, and you get still a stunning result. So you can see those flowers in the background. They're just beautiful and just so subtle in the background. So I absolutely love how these cards turned out. I love how they complement each other. So that is my tutorial for today. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something new. If you would like to join me over on Facebook and share any of the makes that you made using my videos as inspiration, please do join us and pop up your samples. I would love to see what you've made if you've had a go with this technique. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. I've got a nice little list of techniques that I want to try out and share with you, so do stay tuned to see more of my creations. Thank you so much for joining me. See you soon. Bye.